Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Tuesday, October 19th, 2021. And our top story today, vehicle safety systems struggle to see in bad weather. Well, joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Andrew Gross is with AAA. Andrew, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program again this morning.
Good to be here, Jeffrey.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. And so we're going to talk about some recent tests done about these safety systems. And I'm thinking about lane departure systems in particular, the backup cameras, but they don't perform all that well, Andrew, when it comes to inclement weather. What can you tell us based on the study?
That's right. Well, a lot of cars nowadays come equipped with what are called ADAS systems, and that stands for Advanced Driving Assistance Systems. And that can be your lane keeping, your cruise control, your adaptive cruise control, your emergency braking systems, all these kind of newfangled ways that your car can sort of help you be a better driver. At least that's the way it's often branded and marketed. But we are also aware that a lot of these systems are tested on cars in really great driving conditions, a bright sunny day, and they seem to work just fine. But what happens in real world driving conditions like rain? How well do these systems operate, considering they work with cameras and sensors to sort of see the environment around your car, other cars, the lane markers, pedestrians? How well do these work in something as basic as rain or dirt or goop that can get on the sensors and on the cameras? So that's what our testing conducted.
Yeah, and so what is the takeaway here? Because I know when my wife and I just bought a new car, it's a smaller SUV. We wanted to move into that range. And one of the big selling features that we liked was the safety features. You think about the airbags, you think about the braking, the ability to restrain people from getting thrown through the window. I mean, those are important, but also lane departure. So how did they do? I mean, you're telling me, I think I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, they didn't perform all that well.
No, unfortunately, they really didn't. Let's take the emergency braking, for instance. At just 25 miles an hour, the emergency braking system failed about 17% of the time, meaning our test vehicle had a collision. And at 35 miles an hour, that number of collisions went up to 33%. So you can imagine that it went from 17 to 33. But if you're going at, like, say, 65 miles an hour in the rain on a highway, you could do the math. The numbers are not going to get much better. And it just makes for a much more dangerous situation. But the problem is people often rely on these systems. They think, well, they're not going to fail. It's what's rain. But the rain, the sensors and the cameras just have difficulty seeing the environment around it in something as basic as rain.
Yeah. And Andrew, I mean, the way that these things are sold, and I liken it to here, we talk about retirement, we talk about savings, target date funds. They're kind of set it and forget it. Now, I think we're a little far off. I was just talking to my wife about this recently. I think we're a little far off from autonomous vehicles, though Google and Tesla and Apple and others are testing these things. But the impression I think that consumers have of all ages, not just mature, not just young, everybody, that these things are really there they really step in and are impacting the driving. And that really is not the case. You need to be an active driver here.
That's an excellent point. You have to realize that these systems are designed to help you, but not replace you as the driver. So you have to realize that as you're driving down the road, you still need to be aware and realize these systems are great. They're a very good additive to your safety situation, but that doesn't mean you can just kind of tune out. You still have to be the one in control of your vehicle, and be mindful now that we've done this study that in the rain, these things are not going to be able to see very well, and it's incumbent upon you to pay more attention.
Yeah, Andrew, I want to start in this segment, and then we'll segue into the next segment. But being an active driver, okay, let's just, for all of us, because we are all distracted on the road. I got my Apple CarPlay or my Android phone or whatever they call their device is called and I'm here picking songs. I'm getting text messages. Let's remind people it's 10 and 2. That's where you're supposed to be Look, I took driver's ed a long time ago. We're talking 33 years ago. I was 16 years old. And you figure out, do the math on that. 10 and 2, Andrew. We've got to get back to protecting ourselves, people in the car, but also people, pedestrians and other people as well.
That's a great point. Distraction is one of the biggest safety hazards we see amongst drivers at AAA. And there's so much more in our vehicles that it is distracting nowadays. You talk about the infotainment system and the GPS, and you have your phone, and so text messages are going off. All these things that are taking your focus away from the primary task, which should be driving and keeping your eyes on the road. So we always tell people, look, before you even pull out of the driveway, hit the infotainment system, set it up first, and then get on the road. Don't wait till you're on the road to start fiddling around with the buttons, because that just takes your mind and your eyes off of the task of driving.
Yeah, and there is no text message I can think of or phone call that is that important, short of a family emergency that really should require you to take your hands off the wheel or think about that. And by the way, I'm not talking on a soapbox here. I make a lot of mistakes as well. But I think by having these conversations that you and I are having and sharing that with the audience, it's another reminder. Andrew, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about how to optimize use of these systems and be an engaged driver. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. Call right now for your free book, and as a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report. Both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-504-8194.
Welcome back. We're talking this morning to Andrew Gross of AAA. Andrew, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Sure, my pleasure.
I want to kind of re-engage on this topic of how do we become better drivers? How do we take advantage of these systems, but also be better, be proactive, engaged? But Andrew, before we go into that, accidents are up. Pedestrian deaths, people getting hurt as a result of bad driving tactics for whatever reason. Maybe you haven't done it well because of COVID. Maybe you're rushing around, whatever. This is something that we all need to be aware of. And this conversation really plays into that conversation, that discussion.
Oh, that's right. NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, had studies the deaths on our roadways, and the numbers that they found in 2020 were quite startling. The number of traffic deaths had gone up 7%, which statistically is a lot, and that sort of begged the question: well, if there were fewer people on the roads during the 2020, the height of COVID-19, why did deaths go up? And that's a great question. And we're just now kind of trying to tease it out. But speed seems to be the factor. And was it because there were fewer people on the road, so you had a harder time judging your speed because there weren't other cars around you to sort of gauge the flow of traffic? We just don't know. But the numbers really did increase. So it just makes it more apparent to all of us that we just need to be so much more vigilant when we're on the roads of our own actions, as well as those of our fellow drivers around us.
So you had a really good recommendation before you hit the road, before you back out of that driveway or your parking spot or move forward, engage and drive. Check that infotainment system, put on whatever you want. If it's the Grateful Dead, like I like to listen to, whatever, make sure you get that all set so you can go trucking. But Andrew, how do I, the salesperson, he or she told me about this car, but how do I find out what the limitations or what this system is really designed to do?
Well, chances are they probably also mentioned the advanced driving assistance systems, all these safety systems in your cars. But at the time of purchasing the car, there's a lot of other things going on in your mind when you're purchasing the car. So a lot of this might kind of go over your head. So it's really incumbent upon you as the consumer and the customer to get into that owner's manual and understand how these systems work, what they're designed to do, and more importantly, what they're designed not to do. Because a lot of people have sort of assumptions, lane keeping is going to keep me in there no matter what's going on, or emergency braking is a fail-safe situation. So if I'm really not paying attention, the car will stop for me. No, you're still the one who has to pay attention and be in control. Never mind all the branding and marketing and the names of these things, robotic drive or whatever they want to call it. These things don't work that way. I will always want to stress to people, there is no such thing as a fully automated self-driving car available commercially yet. Despite what you may hear, you are still the one that has to be doing the driving of that car.
Really good point. And Andrew, let's talk about if in fact you do get into an accident or you cause an accident or you're hit. There are a lot of impacts here, pun intended. One, you can hurt somebody else. That's important to know. Two, you could have to pay for significant damages. And three, there's a penal aspect to this where you could be charged for directly by the police if you did something egregious. So there's a lot of things, a lot of reasons, I guess, why you should get your hands attended to and on that steering wheel and your foot on the brake.
Yeah, I don't know if any judge will buy the excuse, well, I thought my car would drive for me. I don't think that's going to fly. You're still the boss of your car. All these safety systems are designed to help you, but at the end of the day, they're all, systems with limitations. And as we have found, something like heavy rain can somewhat obscure and even blind these systems. So that's where your background, you've been driving a car for a while. You understand what it does, what it means to drive in the rain. So you know that if it starts raining really hard, what do you normally do? You put your headlights on, you might slow down a little bit, you avoid braking hard, you understand the concept of hydroplaning, all these things. That's all your knowledge. You've got a computer right up here, use it.
Yeah, it's a much better computer, I think, than some of these systems, even those that have artificial intelligence. The other thing is, Andrew, when you have four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, however it's referred to for your particular vehicle, that does not mean that you cannot hydroplane, that you cannot slip, that you cannot turn over. I feel like people mislabel that and think that, okay, now that I have this system, it's going to keep me from swerving, or I can be less than 5 to 6 seconds behind a car that's in front of me. It's just not the case.
That's right. It does. These systems don't negate the fact that you need to slow down. You can't, ride somebody's bumper just because you have emergency braking on your car. You still need to be an aware and safe driver. And your car can easily hydroplane with one of these systems because there's water on the road. And so, and the most important part of your car really are the four things that are coming in contact with the road, which are your tires. So always bear that in mind as well. Maintain your proper tire maintenance, because that's really so important. When you think about it, it's of your car can be, a a $15,000 car or a $100,000 car, but they'll be equally bad if the tires are poor. So just always bear that in mind.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, but physics doesn't select cars based on the type or objects based on the expense of the object. Physics applies to all objects, just like we're all going to age. If a car has a higher point of center of gravity, it can turn over. One thing that I thought was really interesting in the study, and I just kind of want to reiterate, I want you to reiterate this for the audience, the importance of cleaning your windshield and making sure that inside and outside, you've got smudges out of the way, because if you have a dirty windshield, Andrew, no matter if you have a backup camera or a frontal camera or an overhead camera, you still can't see where you're going, and you need to have the peripheral vision on either side of you to see what's coming, to be aware.
That's a great point. A lot of the cars that we looked at, they did have the cameras that are mounted that peer through the windshield out at the road ahead. And while the rain really did seem to affect the sensors the most part, and we also did dirt and bug goop on the windshield, while that didn't affect the sensors and the cameras as much as rain, it still played a part in it. So we always want to tell people, just like you keep your eyeglasses clean, keep your windshield clean. Those cameras are basically an extra pair of eyeballs peering out. So why would you want to look through dirty eyeglasses? Keep your windshield clean too. And we always want to tell folks, if you can't remember the last time you checked your windshield wipers, they're probably not in great shape. So just go ahead and get them swapped out at least once a year. And particularly if you live in like a hot area with a lot of sunshine, the rubber's probably gotten kind of brittle. So you're better off getting new windshield wipers, because the worst time to realize you need a new windshield wipers are when it's pouring rain.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew Gross, always a pleasure chatting with you. And I feel like we're going to be talking about this a lot. It'll be interesting to see if all of us can have an impact on these safety numbers over time. Andrew, great talking with you. Thanks so much. And we'll talk to you again very soon. That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the information in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, so much more, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. We're back again tomorrow. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Are you being audited, and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.